Hey, happy Monday out on the road here. I wanted to talk a little bit today about about how the sugar diet has saved me. And I think I might be able to help some people, or I'm hoping to bring some value to the sugar diet and how you might be able to apply that for yourself. I'm a truck driver and I've been driving truck for 28 years over the road. And but in order to talk about how the sugar diet has really saved me, I'm gonna have to go back to way back when. I'll try not to ramble here. I'll try to make this as short and concise as possible. But for me, the weight problem started, like, I know a lot of people talk about, you remember the days when you were a kid and you didn't have to worry about weight and anything. That wasn't me. It was me when I was really young. I can remember being a little kid and just being normal, not worrying about weight. But something happened around the age of 9 or 10. I didn't know it at the time, but I think I understand what happened then. When I was 9 years old, my family moved. My parents, we moved to a small town. My parents bought a little grocery store in the small town, and our lives completely changed. Prior to that, we were just, just like any kid, get up, you have breakfast, you'd have your lunch that your mom packed for you at school, and you come home and have family dinner around the supper table. And during those years, I was just a regular weight kid. But like I said, when I was about 9 years old, we moved, and my parents bought this grocery store, and our lives completely changed. They put in a lot of hours into that store. They weren't there to be making proper meals anymore. We ate a lot of stuff just off the shelf or from the freezer. I remember eating a lot of frozen TV dinners, going to school with pizza pops. And also I would, being a mischievous child, I would help myself to some of the goodies on the shelves, bags of chips and chocolate bars. And yeah, so at around 10, I started to fluff up. I started to become a chubby child. And when you're young like that, you don't understand the consequences of your dietary choices. You just hey, this is tasty, it's good, it's delicious, and you know what? I can sneak a couple bags of these chips with me to school, and now I can be cool because I can share them with my friends. Problem is that that led to some weight gain, and then that led to feelings of a lot of feelings of self-consciousness. I remember being in school and going to gym class. And back then in the 80s, I don't know what school's like with kids now, but back then, we played they'd separate the boys from the girls in gym class. We'd go do our thing, they do their thing, and the boys we'd go play basketball or whatever sport. And they would do shirts versus skins, and I dreaded being the skins. I did not want to take my shirt off in front of anybody. And so that was a challenging time, and that basically went with me right up through junior high, high school. I never got to be like a huge fat kid, but I was always a fat kid. I remember grade 12 when I graduated from high school. I was about 5'11" at the time. Yeah, I grew 2 inches after high school. But I remember being 5'11" and being about 215, 220. And after high school, this is actually the first time I ever dropped weight. Was after high school. I took a year off before going to post-secondary, and I moved out to a resort town called Banff, Alberta. And when I was there, I got a job as a general laborer on a construction site. At the time, they were renovating and rebuilding the Rimrock Hotel there. And I started working there. And of course, getting a lot of physical activity every day. But I changed what I ate. Suddenly, and it's funny because I know Cole Robinson has mentioned this, we kind of intuitively always knew what we should do. We just didn't do it, you know. And of course, you know, growing up in the 80s, early 90s, the low fat movement was very prevalent. And so that's what I did. I went to work and I had fruit and vegetables. That's all I brought with me to work: fruit and vegetables and water. After work, I'd go home. I'd make myself some rice, throw some tuna in there, some spaghetti sauce, and that's what I did that. And my weight dropped. I went from like 220 down to, I think at one point I was down to like 155. I was skinny. And anyways, and so that lot went to a huge weight loss. I remember when I came home from being in that resort town back to where I lived, everyone was just, they didn't recognize me. I was a completely different person. Yeah. So then from there I went to college and basically stayed on that type of protocol, but I also had access to a gym, so I did a lot of cardio. I did a lot of treadmill, stair climbing. I didn't do a lot of weights because, you know, here's one thing. I remember having friends when I was a kid. When I was a chubby kid, I had friends that were skinny kids, and those skinny kids always wanted to be big, put on muscle, and put on whatever. I just wanted to be normal. I just didn't want to be fat. So I never had that mindset to you know, lift heavy and become big and buff. Still to this day, it's not something that I aspire to. But anyways, so I would do my cardio. I would eat, you know, my low fat food, and there was a period of time there for about two to 3 years where I actually was slim, and I wasn't worrying about being overweight. Now after that, I was done with that and got out into the real world and getting a job and working and stuff. I started to gain a little bit of weight. In 97, that's when I got my class 1 and started driving truck. And my first year driving truck, and a lot of guys that drive truck will understand this fully. That first year I drove truck, I put on about 50 pounds. Because you're sitting in this truck and you're not doing much, and you're eating at truck stops at the Greasy Spoons and doing what you do when you're out on the road. Then I got exposed to something that basically messed up the next 25-30 years of my life. I came across a book that was called Sugar Busters. And I suddenly learned that the evils of everything that had caused me to gain weight was sugar, was carbohydrates. They were bad, and all I had to do was eat fat and protein, and everything would be fine. Yeah, it wasn't fine. I could lose weight doing that, but it was a struggle, and I always had to watch how much I ate. But it was not a great sustainable way of living. And then there was a life event coming up in 98 that I definitely wanted to lose weight for. And then I learned, that's when I was first exposed to fasting. I went on a 3-month fasting trip. I didn't fast for 3 months straight. At the time I was running team with another guy. So it was basically in the bunk, behind the wheel, around the clock. And I literally would go 4 or 5 days without food, just water. And then we'd end up at a truck stop and I'd have bacon and eggs and refeed on that. And then repeat the cycle. I repeated that for 3 months, and you know, I dropped weight pretty easily. I lost all the weight I needed to lose or wanted to lose, and then but it was a repeat, rinse and repeat. Over the years, fasting, I found other low carb information. Eventually, the carnivore diet. Carnivore, fasting, low carb, just a vicious cycle. weight up, weight down, yo-yo, until this year. This year when I discovered the sugar diet, when I discovered that I didn't need to be afraid of carbohydrates, that it wasn't the sugar that made me fat, it was the fat that made me fat. Now, again, you can argue whether my 31 pound weight loss in 30 days was healthy. It got it off fast for me, sugar water and V8. But it's been 3 months now. I have never had a time in my life where after losing a significant amount of weight, I have maintained that weight loss, and it's been effortless. I still do not do a lot of exercise. I mean, I live my life when I'm home. I walk the dogs, ride my bike, on the road. I just do the road thing. This is my life here. So yeah, it's the sugar diet has saved me, because the sugar diet has taken away the food noise. And what I do, it may not be what works best for you. For me, being on the road, I like plant-based. That's what I do. Fruits, I do beans and vegetables, and that works for me. And the weekends are a little different. I'm not a vegan. I'm not a carnivore. I'm just living my life. And so that's kind of where I got to, and why I think why the sugar diet has really helped me. I think it could help a lot of people. And you don't have to do sugar water and V8 juice for 30 days straight. You can do fruit. You can do what works for you. I'm not telling anybody any particular way to go about losing weight. In fact, what I'm doing right now, after my initial 30 days, what I'm doing right now is basically what I did, like right from there. I jumped on my fruit and starch, lean proteins, and that's basically it's just a lifestyle now for me. It's just a lifestyle. Yeah, I can still enjoy pizza. I don't do pizza during the week. I don't do burgers during the week. I don't do poutine. I had poutine last Saturday. Loved it. French fries, cheese curds, and gravy. Delicious. I don't have poutine on the road, and it's not a problem. I don't have food noise. I don't. As I watched a video today, Chris, the Fabulous Body, and one of the things that I really liked what he said is that if you're dealing with sugar and carb cravings, the best thing to do is lean into the sugar and carbs. I don't struggle with sugar and carb cravings. I'm getting all the sugar I need. I'm getting the fruits. I don't even add a lot of sugar. So I do my berries. I blend them up. I throw them in a jar, and I'll add about a tablespoon of sugar to that. That's the only thing I add sugar to on the road. My grapes are sweet. I don't need to add sugar to grapes. My pineapple's sweet. I don't need to add sugar to pineapple. And then my starches, hey, they're good. That's my savory. That's my end of the day, getting ready for bed. Anyways, I've gone on long enough here. I don't want to make this crazy complicated, and I hope my thoughts were clear enough. It's just I understand. I understand what it was like to be trapped in that body that you don't like. I know what it's like to feel the freedom of not having to worry about that food noise. And you can call it a sugar diet, you can call it a sustainable lifestyle, you can call it whatever you want. This is for the first time in my life, guys. I'm doing good. Hope that helps. Let me know if you have any questions. Talk to you later.